FG Media, no fucks given. And I'm here to talk to you today about the state of our world. Apparently, all white males are a bunch of cuckold pussies. All white men think that they need to step aside and let everybody run them over because of their horrific guilt that they feel for everything that's going on in the world today. Well, let me tell you, we have done nothing wrong. Maybe our ancestors did something wrong, but us people that are living today have done pretty much nothing wrong. Sure, there are some assholes out there like Richard Spencer and a few other people, but for the most part, everybody else is bowing down and stepping aside and silencing themselves because they're so afraid of criticism. Well, I'm not afraid of criticism. I'm just here to say, hey, I'm just a guy. I'm living in the world today, and I look around me and I see all the bullshit going on and everybody trying to shovel guilt upon everybody. Anybody that's not a minority or a woman or some kind of protected class has to feel like they're laden with all this guilt because our ancestors did all these horrible things. Well, let me tell you, my ancestors, for the most part, I'm sure, were not privileged. A lot of my ancestors were Irish. A huge part of my heritage is Irish. The Irish people were treated worse than the black slaves that came here. An Irishman that came to this country under servitude was called an indentured servant, and they were owned basically for 7 years. So the owner of that person was like, let's get as much out of these 7 years as we can and work this guy to death, whereas a black slave cost more than the Irishman, so they were more valued, they were treated better, and they lived longer because they knew they could have them for life. And then we look at the history of slavery. Black slaves that came to this country were treated very harshly. It was very bad. But if you look at the slaves that went to, say, the Middle East, they were treated very, very badly. Most of the time they were castrated, they were raped, they were treated very, very harshly. Most of them did not live a very long life. But there is no guilt. There's no Arabian guilt. There's all this white guilt, but no Arabian guilt. So we just live in like this distorted reality where everybody is competing to see who's the biggest victim. You know, is it the blacks that are the biggest victim? Is it the Hispanics? Is it the refugees? Is it the women? Who's the biggest victim? Everybody's got some kind of claim to victimhood. And the more victimhood you have, the more power you have. Which is totally
messed up. Right?
Yeah, that doesn't sound right. That's totally messed up. How about somebody gains their power through knowledge or accomplishment? How strange is that? You know, we look at the election and Trump coming into power and his cabinet picks. Everybody's all upset because they're like, "Oh no, he's got the richest cabinet ever." And I'm thinking, well, hey, that's great. He's bringing in people that are successful, people that have went into whatever field of endeavor they chose, whether it was business or science or the military or whatever, and they accomplished something. They've done something. Like, who wants to have a cabinet full of homeless people who've done nothing? Would you want me to be the Secretary of Education? Somebody who dropped out of high school, an alcoholic? I don't think so. You're going to want somebody that's successful, somebody that's went out and done something with their life, not somebody that's just, floated through life and done whatever. And, oh, well, I can identify with that guy. We don't want somebody successful in there. Who wants some rich asshole? Well, that rich asshole, like, say, Rex Tillerson, that guy went into Exxon as an engineer. He started out working in the field. And then he rose to the top to where he was running the whole entire company. And he went out and he went throughout the world, made deals with people, and everybody's like, oh, he went to Russia, he talked to Putin, blah, blah, blah. Well, you know what? He went to a whole bunch of other countries too. And he made all kinds of oil and gas deals. And that's what made him a success. That's what's going to make him a successful Secretary of State, because he knows how to deal with other countries. He knows how to deal with people in business. He knows how to deal with people in politics. That's somebody that I personally would like to see succeed. I don't want to see some political hack, go in. Like, you look at Obama. That guy went in. What did he do before he was president? He was
CIA, right?
He was a senator for a couple of years. Before that, he was a community organizer. And we basically don't know anything about him. And then we look at Trump. He's been vetted more than anybody that I know of ever that's been in office. Because from the beginning of his campaign, everybody went after him. They investigated every little detail of his life. What happened with Obama? They didn't investigate any part of his life. We don't know really anything about his college records. We're not really sure about his childhood. None of these things. The media just went to sleep. When he started campaigning, when Obama started campaigning, the media basically went to sleep. They took a nap, they went on vacation, they didn't do anything. He gets in and everybody's like, yay, we got our first black president, so awesome, blah, 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 and of course he's a liberal. Trump comes in and everybody's like, oh my God, this is so horrible. But we as a country have known more about Trump than we ever knew about Obama, and the people voted him in. And yeah, there's a bunch of people out in the streets protesting and dressing themselves up to look like vaginas and whatever, being all theatrical and just causing a ruckus, basically over nothing. They don't know, these people have no clue of why they're even mad. They're just mad because they're being told to be mad. And then you hear the media going, oh my God, President Trump got elected. There are people in fear. People are scared.
They're afraid.
Oh my God, they're so afraid. Why are they afraid? They're afraid because the media has told them that Trump is the devil incarnate. He is Satan himself. He's literally Hitler.
He's the biggest villain ever.
Does anybody know what the word literally means? The only person that is literally Hitler is Hitler. Okay? You could say, okay, yeah, he's a fascist, he's a Nazi, he's a whatever. You're wrong. You could say that, and it would be more accurate than saying he is literally Hitler. The only person that's literally Hitler is Hitler. And then you say, oh, he's such a fascist. Well, what do fascists do? Fascists try and control everything. They try and limit speech. They try and silence people. They censor things. Who's doing that? Not Trump. It's the left. It's all these protesters going out to Berkeley, burning everything down, beating women, macing people, lighting everything on fire, smashing out bank windows, blocking traffic, trying to get the intelligence agencies to leak out information, running the deep state against our president. It's like these people on an airplane begging that the pilot crashes the plane that they're on. Look, I didn't like Obama. Not at all. And I was very suspicious of him. I thought like his ideas were not going to work. But I wasn't rooting for them to crash. I wasn't rooting for Obama to be a failure. I wasn't rooting for our economy to take a nosedive. I wasn't rooting for our jobs to be lost. I wasn't rooting for Obamacare to be a total failure and ruin our healthcare system. I was really hoping that maybe I was wrong. I was really hoping that maybe I was just a little too cynical. I was really hoping that through all this, that something good would have came of it. I was hoping I was wrong. I was really, really hoping I was wrong. I was really hoping that maybe I was just a little too suspect and suspicious of him, and that maybe I was wrong, and maybe things were going to work out. Maybe Obamacare would have been a good thing. Maybe his ideas would have helped our country work. They didn't. And I find no joy in that. Because ultimately, I want our country to be strong. I want our economy to be strong. I want us to have good jobs. I want people to have freedom and liberty. And I voted for Trump. I like Trump. And I'm not a total sycophant, though. There are things that he's done that I don't necessarily agree with. There's positions he takes that aren't my positions. Say like the legalization of drugs. He's come out against recreational marijuana. He seems to be pretty supportive of medical marijuana, which I think is good. But as a libertarian, I really feel like, all drugs should be legal. I'd rather just see them legalized and decriminalized so that we're not wasting our money fighting a stupid war on drugs that doesn't work. We've been fighting a war on drugs since Nixon, and more people are using drugs. We've been fighting a war on poverty since Johnson, and there are more poor people than there were then. Everything the government tries to do, they seem to just really screw up and make things worse. I would just like to see our government limited. I'd like to see our government just step back and let people exist. But that being said, government does have some functions. And one of those functions is having a viable military that's going to protect our country. Having borders, that's something we need. We need to have not just a wall, but we need laws enacted. We need enforcement of those laws. We need we need certain social programs to go on. But when we look at things like, let's say, abortion, when it comes to abortion, I don't necessarily agree with abortion. Me personally, I think it's a bad thing. I think it's destructive to women. I also believe it's murder of the unborn child. But on the other hand, too, I don't believe that it's the government's place. I think that if we wanted to really stop abortion, what really would need to happen is a social movement. It would need to happen socially. It would need to happen within the conscience of our country, not necessarily a law. Same thing with crime and violence. There's a certain point where, yes, we do need law enforcement, but we really need to change the heart of the people. That's the big problem, is that we have people that don't believe between right and wrong. People think that, oh, well, I just want what I want and I'm going to do what I want to get it. And, we really need to have like some self-restraint. And I just don't see that in our society today. Too many people just, all they care about is themselves and they don't worry about other folks. And, a lot of this comes down to when we talk about like social issues. You hear all the liberals talking about, oh, the government needs to make a law to do this or that to help poor people. The government needs to take all these taxes to pay for this or that program. But the people that cry the loudest and say that we need to do the most are the people that themselves do the least. You know, there's been studies that show that liberals are the first ones to say we need to do something, but they're 6 times less likely to give to charity, and they're something like 4 or 5 times more likely to steal. So I think what we need to do is people need to go out and practice what they preach. You know, and I can say the same thing about some conservatives too, you know. I mean, I was involved in churches and things like that, and a lot of the people that would go out and talk about Christian values and things like that were the last people to espouse them. And I see a lot of that going on with the left today too. But nobody ever calls them out, you know. Everybody's really quick to be like, oh, Christians are such hypocrites and the churches do this and do that, and they, you know, they talk about tolerance but they don't tolerate anything, and you know. But we look at the left, how tolerant are they? You know, they always talk about diversity, but they tolerate no diversity of thought, no diversity of ideals. You know, you can't go onto a college campus and espouse any kind of conservative ideas without somebody throwing a fit. I mean, look at like Gavin McInnes or Milo Yiannopoulos. Those guys try to go onto a college campus just to speak, and there are protesters, violent protesters, trying to silence them, trying to stop the crowds from coming in, many times assaulting people, both verbally and physically. Where's the tolerance in that? You know, I thought that colleges were supposed to be a place where ideas were shared and like you could speak freely and debate ideas and whatever. But these people don't seem interested in any of that. They don't want to have a debate. They don't want to talk about ideas. They want to silence anybody that disagrees with them. And I'm the kind of person that I would hate to be in a room full of people that agree with every single thing I said, and people that just didn't want to debate anything. I mean, I thrive on people bringing up different points of view and making me think and making me defend my ideas. And I think that's a lot of reason why I find conservatives a lot more thoughtful, because every time a conservative puts out an idea, they have to defend it. It has to be defended against, you know, the whole liberal onslaught of everything. So we have to be thought out in what we think. We have to have facts. We have to think through what we're talking about. Whereas a liberal just has to go out and say whatever everybody else says. They just have to bring up the talking points, and they have to frame their idea in the most politically correct way, so that anybody that comes against them, they just say, oh, you're a racist, you're a misogynist, you're a xenophobe, you're, you know, anti-Semitic, you're transphobic, you're whatever. It's all just, it's basically just name calling. It's like, who can call somebody the worst name and make them shut up? Well, I'm going to tell you, you can call me whatever name you want. I'm not shutting up. I don't go away that easily. If you want to come at me with a reasoned argument, hey, great. I'll debate you on your argument. You bring me some facts, I'll throw some facts at you, we'll do some research. You do your research, I'll do my research. We'll look into whatever, and hey, you know what? If I'm not educated on something, if I don't understand a certain topic or whatever, I'll just say, hey, you know what? I'm not informed enough to talk about that. But let me go do some research and I'll get back to you. Unfortunately, most people don't have that kind of intellectual honesty. If they don't know something they'll just start talking about it. They'll just say whatever it is they think that. They'll either say what they think you want to hear, or they'll say whatever they think is politically correct, or whatever sounds the most compassionate, or whatever. But I honestly, when it comes to compassion, I think the most compassionate thing you can do is tell somebody the truth as you know it. We're all going to get things wrong. We all have different perceptions. But I think to look at something honestly and go through the intellectual exercise of trying to understand it, and then to give the truth as you know it and not be lazy about it, I think is the best way and the most compassionate thing you can do to someone. If I'm wrong about something, I would rather somebody just say, hey, you know what, you're wrong, or you're uninformed, or whatever, not just agree with me. And unfortunately, there are too many people on the other side that feel that way. So with that, I'm going to end this video. Hope you guys have a nice day. Thanks.